Hey everyone, it's Husey back with another video, and this one is going to be covering every Nightwing suit in the Gotham Knights video game. I've been playing it a lot recently just because it's one of the only places where you can play as Nightwing in an open world, and it gives you tons of different customization and suits to work with rather than just using challenge maps and the Arkham series games. So that inspired me to make a tier list of every suit that Nightwing has. So we're going to be going over the New Guard suit, Titan, Eternal, Year One, Neon Noir, Demon, Pirateer, Metal, Beyond, Night Ops, Shinobi, Knightwatch, Talon, Knighthood, Raider, and Gilded Age Nightwing costumes. So I'm going to be ranking this from S to F, with only one being the best, of course, because I think it's important to have one that's the best, rather than having multiple at the very top spot. I think it makes more sense just to have one as your favorite. And before getting into the suits itself, I did want to give the Gotham Knights team a little biased credit, because a lot of these designs, they don't use the classic bird at the tip of the V, which has been a pet peeve of mine in recent years. I'm not the biggest fan of that. They either use like a spike in the middle or don't have anything in the middle, but they mostly stay away from the bird aesthetic, at least the bird head, which I very much appreciate from the developers regarding my own biases with Nightwing designs. That being said, let's go over the first suit. So first we're going to be talking about the New Guard Nightwing costume, the default costume you get at the very beginning. So in my other tier list for the Nightwing suits, I did go over this one, but that was the basic default version of this. So I think I've come up with a better design overall here with the edits I've done, with the customization here. Again, the basis of this design is not the best in my opinion, but it's not completely horrible. I think the cowl styles are decent here. I like this one that shows a little more blue, and symbols aren't necessarily the best. Like I said in that video before, I'm not the biggest fan of how the blue drapes over his shoulders and then it's kind of separated with the symbol. I think it just looks kind of odd and a weird way to format the design. The gloves, I think, has pretty good options here. Not a big fan of this one, but these two are cool in my opinion. And I think this one's a little boring as the boots, but these two are cool as well. Another thing I'm not too excited about with this design is how it looks with the separation of the torso to the pants. I think it just kind of looks weird, and his pants and body torso, like the armor, doesn't meld together very well. It's very separate. I do, however, like the blue accents through the biceps. I think that's a really cool touch, like pretty unique to this design. I think they overdo it when it's added onto the thighs as well. But he has some different styles that I think look pretty cool with the different colorways. These ones are the main ones I'll be going over, just because they are blue and fit Nightwing's aesthetic more. He also has a pretty good transmog that a lot of the other suits like don't necessarily have like the best transmogs, but this one's actually pretty solid. So if you get like a higher level suit and you want to change it, this isn't a bad option. It's okay, but I still think this is one of the weakest suits in the game, so I'm gonna have to put it in C tier to start off the video. Okay, next on our list is the Titan version of Nightwing, and I think this one is pretty solid overall. I don't have too many complaints about it. I think there are some improvements that would make it a lot better, in my opinion, but the foundation is pretty cool. And I'll get into my nitpicks here in just a second. But going over the pieces, I kind of wanted to make this mask work. It kind of looks like a butterfly, and not the biggest fan of it. I do, however, like his hair. This mask is just bad, but this one's probably the best one. The symbol has some unique designs here, but I just like the basic one. Just keep it simple. And I think all of his glove options are pretty decent. Don't have any problems with them. I think they're all pretty viable options. And same with the boots, I think, where it's like skin tight like here looks cool, as well as the spikes and this one I have on right now. But the main issue I have with this one is that the design is a little cluttered in my opinion. There's just a lot of separation between the colors and no like organized way. And I think it suffers from the back not having the V on the chest, or some suits carry that to the back. This one does not, so if you like are wearing one of these other colorways where it doesn't have blue as the background, it just looks kind of boring and bland on the back and just kind of jumbled with all this other random stuff in the back. But that's why I think this blue colorway is the best on it, because it just gives it more like color and dynamics. And I think this one's also decent, but overall this suit's good. I just don't think it stands out and is on the lower tier of the Nightwing suits in this game, so I'm gonna put it in B tier. Its transmog also is not very crazy. It's just a black suit that just gives off the spy theme, which isn't bad, but it's nothing that like screams Nightwing to me. Next is the Eternal design for Nightwing in this game. And this one is really good to me, in my opinion. I really like this one and how they separate the blue accent color. Compared to the Titan one, it does have the V going from the chest to the back, which I really like. It has some pretty good options for the colors as well. All of these look pretty solid in my opinion. I just like this one because it has more silver highlights and I like the blue on it. For the cowls, I think are pretty bad besides the one I had on. This one looks kind of dorky from the front, and then when he goes to the back, he has like a strap around the crown of his head, but not covering the back of his head. Looks like really stupid in my opinion. And then this one, I think this mask is pretty cool, honestly, but I personally am not a fan of Nightwing having shorter hair in general. I think you should have flowy, medium length hair, so it just bothers me to see him have like a fade there. And this one covers it up. I also think it's cool that he has a pointed nose that kind of relates to his bird theme that we don't usually see too often. So I think that's a cool aspect of this mask. The symbols are whatever in my opinion. I think this second design is definitely the best, and the other ones I don't really care for. The gloves, I think these two right here are great options because they add some more highlights to the blue. And then I think all of these shoe options are pretty great as well. I think they're all pretty good for this suit. For this game, a lot of these suits are like very detailed, and of course ideally Nightwing wouldn't have all this mechanics and stuff on his costumes, but if they're gonna add all this extra stuff to them, I like to have the blue like sprinkled throughout. So I think this like does a lot of what I'm looking for. And I'm gonna put this one in A tier. I think this is a really solid skin. The transmog for it, however, is not super impressive. It's kind of this washed navy and brown look, which I feel like Nightwing should always be blue in my opinion. So I'm not the biggest fan of how this transmog has turned out. The fourth suit we're going to cover here today is Year 1. And this suit is one of my favorites for sure. They got the hair length perfectly in my opinion. There's a lot of colorways that look really good with it. Of course, the dark blue is always going to look good. This one looks pretty cool, I think, with the blue accents. The default design looks awesome as well. These ones look solid too, in my opinion. But I just like having the blue undershirt here. This one is just the one I'm rocking right now, but you could go with any of these, basically. I think they all look good on it. But what I like about this design is just how simplistic it is compared to a lot of the other ones. And the masks aren't the best. Like this one sucks. But I really like this one. This one's not bad either, but with the white eyes, I think it adds another layer to it. Symbol design, this one is not good in my opinion, but this one and this one both look pretty solid. He also has this strap on the back, which makes it look more tactical and practical, so I think that looks cool. And another thing, I do like the striping going down his arms, more like the normal Nightwing that we see in the comics, how he looks. The gloves aren't anything special. I just kind of went with something very basic. They're all kind of meh. The boots, I think these ones look cool. I think they all look pretty solid, but I do like having that little bird symbol on these ones right here. I think it looks pretty good all together. So this one is one of my favorites, and I always like rocking it. But yeah, I think it's just a great suit overall, and this one is going to be our first S tier. The year one transmog also isn't too bad looking. It's using that indigo pattern. Not what I would design necessarily or go with, but I think this one is pretty serviceable, but not as good as the ones I came up with. Alright, moving on to this abomination here. This is the Neon Noir Nightwing suit. Now this one just looks really bad. I'm just gonna say it right now, this is the worst suit Nightwing has in this game. He just looks like a football player, and I hate the fade. Like, the colors are of course gonna look decent, but just with this costume it's just pretty boring, and I really just don't like how they did his hair. Like, that's literally like one of the main reasons I don't like this suit. Another reason is the cowls are just atrocious as well. Like, this band around his whole head looks really silly. And same with this one going up to the crown. Like, this is the only one that I think works, and it's still spaced out really weirdly. Like, around the ears and like the back of his head and towards the bottom of his neck is exposed. But it's definitely better than these two. The symbol is just whatever, nothing too special about it. It's not horrible or anything, but not my favorite. Gloves, there's nothing really unique or crazy about them. Just pretty bland options. And boots, yeah, like this one is like really bad. I don't know, just looks really awkward. Imagine wearing boots like that. But yeah, I mean, this is the best I could do with this concept here, but I am not a fan of this design ever, and this is going to go in F tier for sure. This is bottom of the barrel. If this design didn't have like a really bad haircut and better masks, I think it would be a lot better, honestly. Like, I could put it up a tier or so, but this is what we got, so I gotta judge it the way it is. His transmog, funny enough, is pretty similar to the one I came up with, but just the boots are different, actually, I think. Still, you know, I can't save this design. So after that atrocious design, we get to cleanse our palette with a fantastic design. This is the Demon suit for Nightwing, and this is a really good suit, in my opinion, at the top of the tier list. And I think just the design elements are really strong here, and the ninja look works really well with how they designed it. I really like the symbol. All the colors look pretty sick with them. You can even do some more like red designs with it, but these all look great. And just the basic design of it, the concepts look really cool. This also is great. This mask is the weakest, but I still think it's still pretty cool, honestly. But having the mouth covered and then the whole face mask, like, those look just so cool, in my opinion. The symbol design, I think this one's really awesome, as well as this one kind of gives it more of the traditional Nightwing look. This one's alright, but these two are great. Actually not a fan of this one, the second one, but these two look pretty sick. Moving on to the boots, they all look pretty good and work with it. I'm going with more of like the armor design for it. But I really like how he has that belt around his waist that goes down to his thighs, like the shoulder pads. Onto his straps look really cool, and I think the torso framing looks really cool with the separation. And overall, like, they have a good back design, which is a big thing because another thing with these suits is that you're seeing them from the back most of the gameplay, so that really matters to me, you know, how it looks from the back versus just the front. So this is a great design, and yeah, this is gonna go in the S tier, and I think it's better than the year one. The Demon transmog is using that red hood colorway, and I think it, you know, fits for the theme, but again, not how I pictured Nightwing, so I wouldn't really use this one. Moving on to the seventh design that we're gonna be talking about today. This is the Pirateer Nightwing design, And this one is just a little cluttered, a little too big in my opinion. That draws it back. It just looks just very cumbersome. So I'm going with like the indigo colorway here, but it honestly doesn't look bad with these other ones. This one's a little much with the blue. And the blue could be a little overbearing in this suit, I think, somewhat. This one is cool because it harkens back to, you know, Nightwing when he was blue and yellow to begin with, which I think is kind of like a unique homage. Also, like, fits the pirate theme a little bit more. But I just think this indigo design looks pretty cool and like is more subtle of a color for the pirate theme. Moving on to the cowl, I think all of these options are actually pretty solid. I actually don't have any complaints about these cowl options. And the hair, I do really enjoy how long his hair is. Like, that's a great part of this costume, is the hair on him. I gotta give credit to him for that. The symbol, however, they kind of just have random lines through these other ones. This basic one is just the best in my opinion. These gloves, these ones just look pretty lame. These other two, though, I think are pretty cool. I just like the vibe of these ones. Kind of looks like a knight almost with this. Yeah, these are awful. Like, look at those pants. Like, you can really see how lame they look with like the knee pads there. But these boots like give it some more dynamic, and I just like the silver boots. These ones are alright too. Has that bat symbol down there, which is pretty interesting on the knees. But overall, like when this one's moving around, it looks too big in my opinion. He's like too puffed up. So I think this one is actually just a little bit worse than the default New Guard design. So I'm gonna put it next to that one in C tier. The colorway also is using that red and brown theme, which I guess could work for him, but he's using that really bad glove and boots design. And again, Nightwing shouldn't be red. Next on our list is the metal suit for Nightwing. This one is also a pretty solid suit in my opinion. I think the concept here is really cool and looks pretty good. A lot of the colorways work really well with this design. And I think it has a great foundation for what it is. The cowls aren't, in my opinion, the best. I did try to make this full mask one work because I thought it was like a cool concept to have a fully masked, and it looks alright, but when you're playing with it, kind of like an alien. So I think it's cooler just to have kind of the basic mask and hair there showing. This one also just kind of bugs me with how it's not connected to the neck. Just kind of weird looking. Symbol, they kind of just add these random pieces throughout it. A lot of the default symbols for the Nightwing suits tend to be like the best because they just add random stuff like gray here and this kind of stone looking blue, but it just like muddies it up and makes it more detailed for no reason. I think the back looks pretty good on this suit. The glove options aren't bad either. I think they all look pretty cool. I mainly choose this one because it shows the blue down his arms, which I'm a fan of. Again, going back to that more classic comic book looking Nightwing. The boots aren't like super crazy or anything, but I think they all look decent. But this one's just my favorite with the little blue on the heels there. So this one is pretty solid. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think it's a little worse than the Eternal design we went over. I think that one has like a better symbol and back. But I did use this one a lot during my playthrough, so it's got a soft spot for me, but I do think it's just a little too boxy in a sense, where like docks at a few points, but still I like it. The transmog is cool if you just want like a gray, super edgy stealth suit or something, but pretty basic and, not necessarily what Nightwing is. Next is the Beyond suit for Nightwing, and this is a really great suit as well. Put it right next to that metal one, as in like really good and solid mechanical looking suit. I really enjoy the chest symbol here, how big it is and how it crosses onto his shoulders. And the back doesn't look bad too. Kind of interesting the way they put the blue there. The colorways also are a little weird for the suit design. Like this blue one is just way too much. And one thing about this suit that is a problem is I think it's just a little clustered with all the lines and different shadings that's going on. Kind of negates from how simplistic like the original Batman Beyond design is. That's why I go with this dark blue one, because the accent colors are all dark. Now the cowl, this is a really good example on how to do like a mechanical mask that's fully covering the face, unlike that metal one we just went over. I think this one does it like way better. I think the 4 eyes there looks really cool. Also this design where his skin tone is black, just like the Batman Beyond design where you can see his mouth. I think looks really cool with them, with his hair showing, and it's like a great hair design as well. This one, not so much. Definitely the weakest mask. Wouldn't ever wear it, but I like using this one. Kind of looks like really futuristic and cool to me. The symbol designs aren't super drastic or anything. I think you could choose any of them and be good. They all look fine. Gloves, pretty standard, not much changes. I do like the spikes on the back of these ones, but these ones are just kind of boring. And I like how the knuckles are blue here, and there's some blue accents through it as well. These boots are pretty dope with the blades, the fins, and yeah, all these options are pretty solid. Again, like for a Batman Beyond type suit, I mean, you want it to be as sleek as possible. These all look pretty cool for that. Yeah, this suit's going in A tier, and I think it's just a little bit above the metal suit, but not quite as good as the Eternal one. I'd still probably use the Eternal one just because of how like dynamic and the blue separation in that one I think looks a little cooler when you're playing with it than this one. Now the transmog for this one is using one of the weaker colors in my opinion. It's using the same mask and it's using those blades on the arms and the legs, which I think looks pretty cool, but I think it suffers from the transmog. It's just not the greatest. It's still blue, but you'd think the Beyond design would have more black in it, or the transmog. Okay, moving on to the 10th design on the list. This is the Night Ops skin for Nightwing. And this might be a hot take, but this is actually one of my more favorite designs for him in this game. And this is just my hair bias coming back into play too. I think he has one of the best hairstyles for Nightwing. I think it looks really cool, like his long hair there. And to be honest, my favorite colorway is this one that I have on, just because the undersuit looks really cool when you're playing it, I think, with the separation with the black and how metallic the black looks compared to that light blue as the undersuit. I think it contrasts itself really nicely in the gameplay. These other colorways don't look the best compared to the one that I have like equipped. This one's not bad either, the indigo. But yeah, I think it really levels up when you have this light blue undersuit. I think it looks really cool. The masks aren't the best for this design, but I think this one is the best overall. Just kind of gives them a full face cover there, which is pretty cool looking. The symbol designs are pretty standard. They all look good in my opinion. I just kind of like this raised up one. Just looks a little more like present, and it's a very simple design for the symbol, but I think it does its job by standing out. The gloves, I think this blade on the side is really cool. These ones are whatever, but I really like just not having anything where like his arms look really like sleek and clean with those blue gloves. I think that looks really cool. These boots also look kind of weird in my opinion. These ones aren't bad, but that's a little too much blue showing in the back, so I like to separate it with the boots that cover his whole calf. So this is the best way to design this one in my opinion. And I actually prefer using this one slightly over the Eternal one. It might just be like the hair or how it looks from the back, or I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think it's a really solid suit, and I think the pouches are cool, and the design elements look pretty nice, and the back is pretty unique with that spine going down it. I think it all comes together pretty well. So I'm gonna have to put this suit at the top of A tier for right now. It's a great suit. Yeah, this one and the Pirateer suit have the best hair, in my opinion. But the Pirateer suit is attached to the rest of it, which is not the best. And the transmog looks super aggressive, but again, using that black and red color scheme, which is something I don't like about it. Alright, moving on to the last suit that's actually not just a transmog. This is the Shinobi Nightwing suit in this game. So this one I think has a really cool concept, and I like shoulders there and how it looks from the front. The only issue is when you're playing the game, it does look pretty cumbersome, and it kind of has the same issue that the Pirateer one, but I do think this is a better design overall, and I really like the design elements for it, but just not play-wise, just kind of looking at it, I think it looks better in gameplay. The colorways are pretty solid for this one, with the blue. And the cowl options are all pretty cool too. This one I think is the worst, but I like this one where his eyes are covered. I think that looks really cool. And this one's pretty solid too with the very slim eyes. These symbols, I just go with this one because it's a little different, a little unique, but this design is the best, I think, the first one. This one's whatever. But yeah, an issue I also have is that by his chin, he has that metal piece sticking out right by his collarbone, which just doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't know why they would put that there. Just looks very odd, and I think damages the whole design. The gloves are alright. This one's too bulky. These ones look cool, like actually look kind of like a Shinobi style, and these ones kind of fit the theme more. Another thing about this suit is that it's a little too mechanized to be a Shinobi style. You'd think it'd be more wardrobe and sashes or knives or something on it, but they said it was Shinobi and then added a bunch of like tech design, which clashes with the whole theme of it. So I think this one is still a decent skin. Like, wouldn't blame you for having it higher or thinking that's like a great skin or anything, but in action, just not my favorite. Yeah, this is also another design I come up with for it that I think looks pretty cool too, with that first cowl with the blacked out eyes. And I do really like the hair too, with the ponytail. I think that's a really cool touch and pretty unique to the skin. But again, lacking in a few areas, and the concept kind of clashing with itself. I'm gonna have to put it in the B tier, the bottom of B tier. I think it's below the Titan one. And yeah, it just suffers from the Pirateer category of being a little bit too bulky in the gameplay for me. Also, the Shinobi transmog is pretty bad. It's using blue and orange, which just doesn't work in my opinion. I've never really been a big fan of that color combo, and using the worst mask, so not a big fan of this transmog. See, this is why I said the New Guard transmog was so good, because all of these other ones are actually worse than what you can come up with by yourself. Okay, now it's getting exciting again. This is a peak design. This is the Knightwatch transmog, and this design is near perfect. It's basically everything I'd ask for on paper for a Nightwing design. No extra gizmos or belts or random gadgets anywhere. But there are a few issues, and that is the reason why it's not actually going to be the best, in my opinion. Kind of a shocker, and a shock to myself as well. So I definitely thought this one would be the best, but looking back at it, It just isn't. And the main reasons I will say is because of the shoulder pads that are added for no reason. I have no idea why they would add just random extra plating there when they could have just kept the blue from the back to the arms to the chest. Bird symbol itself is perfect on his chest. If you've watched my Nightwing tier list, I do prefer more the 90s look for Nightwing, which is a little different than this one, but it's basically like the same thing. Also, don't necessarily like how the black is thrown in here versus the gray kind of goes down his torso, like where his abs are, like down past his like crotch to like his inner thigh, and then the boots are black as well. I think it would have just worked better if they all made it one color. And in the gameplay, it looks a little jarring. I think the mask is pretty good. I really like the designing of the mask. Either black or blue, I think the mask like looks great. I'm not sure if I'd like it more if it was a black mask or not, but I think the blue mask looks really great. Now on to the biggest reason that this one is not the best. And it's going to be because of the hairstyle. I'm just not a big fan of the fade on the back of his head there. I think his hair is just way too short. If they gave him the year one hairstyle, the Pirateer hairstyle, or the Night Ops hairstyle, like this one would probably be the best, even with the other flaws I listed. But the simplicity of this design just looks so cool. The way the colors pop, how the lines translate from the back to the chest, down the arms, and to the ring and middle finger perfectly like the comics. I love all those aspects, but the hair, just looking at him from behind, like always just bothered me, and I just can't get over it. So this is still gonna be the top of S tier and better than the Demon or the year one, but it's just lacking in a few things, but I still love it. Alright, moving on to another great design for Nightwing. This is the Talon suit transmog, and up front this is literally a perfect design for the Talon theme. This gets Nightwing. The symbol is super dope, very nicely accompanied by those feathers, and I like the finger armor a lot, as well as the other aspects like the feathers on the legs, and the boots look cool. The mask is also just super sick and looks really menacing and great. And this is all just looking at him from the front, which gets to the only issue I have with this costume is that from the back, it looks pretty boring and bland. They didn't really give him much of anything going on in the back. So when you're actually playing as him, it doesn't look nearly as cool as when you're just looking at him. So as a whole design, that just kind of lowers it. I was gonna put this one in S tier, maybe close to high S tier, but just based off the front alone, and if we're just looking at still images, I mean, makes sense to put it there, but if you're taking into account like how you're playing in the gameplay and everything, the back just looks pretty boring, and they didn't do that much with designing the back aspect to make it look more interesting. So for that reason, I'm still gonna put it at the top of A tier, but just not as good as those other S tier designs we were talking about. Not as good as Year One, Demon, or the Knightwatch, but still like super awesome and a great suit for Nightwing. Okay, getting close to the end here. This is the Knighthood Nightwing transmog suit. So this one is pretty sleek, you know, it's a black suit with a blue outline for the symbol, and that's all it basically is. And the funny thing is, I didn't realize this until making this video, but this is literally just the Titan suit. If you look at it, it's literally just the same suit, but just all blacked out with the blue outline for the symbol. Like, they're literally the same design and have the same even gauntlets and boots, but the only difference is like the mask and the hair. So it's going off of the default look for Nightwing, like his default mask and his default hair. So that's like the only difference within the design, and then also that it's all black and has the blue outline. And a lot of the other characters look better in my opinion with their Knighthood designs. I think Nightwing is actually the worst out of all of them, just because of how like boring, and it's not a bad suit or anything. It's just black with that one splash of blue. The hair's not bad or anything, but since it's just so boring and basic, I'm gonna put it in B tier for boring. I know it's the suit you get at the end of the game, but there's nothing really special about it or a reason I would want to wear this suit over a lot of the other ones. So I'm gonna put it right in the middle of B tier. Alright, on to the final suit that I actually own. This is the Raider transmog suit for Nightwing, and this is my favorite suit in the game. Honestly, it might just be biased from the grind I had to put in for Heroic Assault. That game mode was pretty annoying to get through, and I really liked the achievement of getting the skin. And at first when I saw it, I didn't really care for it too much, but as I've been playing with it, it's grown on me a lot. I think this mask is really cool, going down the cheek, below the ear, with his default hair. I think it looks really good together, as well as the white eyes. And another thing I did also notice about this suit is that it is just the Eternal design. Just like that Knighthood suit was the Titan suit kind of modified, this is the Eternal suit modified. So I really enjoyed the symbol on his chest. I think this is one of the best symbols in the game. I like the back, how it has a design, and I think it's cool how they do this indigo slash blue slash gray camo on him. I think the colors work really well, and the detail in the suit works in my opinion. The only issue is that when you're playing it, the color on his butt, funny enough, looks a little odd, but that's literally my only issue with this suit. And I don't have as many issues as I do with the Knightwatch suit on this one. And I think it is kind of a bias of just working hard to get this one. So this, in my opinion, is the best suit and the one I'm always wearing now for this game. I love it. I think it's great. It's probably not everyone or a lot of people's favorite suit, but this is my favorite Nightwing suit in the game. So I'm gonna have to put it in the best tier. Now the last suit I unfortunately was not able to get, which is the Gilded Age transmog Nightwing suit. And I think this one is actually really cool. I did try to get it. I actually read all the comics on the DC Infinite app, messaged them and never got a response back about like codes or anything, because I know that's how you're supposed to do it back a few years ago when this was active. And I was really trying to get this one just to experience the gameplay for myself, but alas, it was not meant to be. So I can only look at how cool it looks through other people's gameplay, and I do think it's a really good suit, like a really solid suit. I think the symbol on his chest is really cool, along with the tassels creeping out from the shoulder, and also the other design elements too. It's got a good torso frame. I really like how they designed that leather on his torso from the back and the front, and the handkerchief is really cool on his neck, as well as the bandana type mask, and the chaps of course are really cool with the lasso. All together like looks really solid. But one of the only issues I have with it is the cowboy hat. I think it throws the design off a little bit. If you didn't have the cowboy hat and just the mask, it would look a lot better, but again, it wouldn't be as linked to the old-timey days, the style that they were going for with the cowboy look. So I get what they're going for when they have it, but I think it just looks a little awkward when he's doing flips or moving around fighting bad guys with the cowboy hat on. So for that reason, and because I don't really have it in front of me to highly analyze it, I still think it's a great suit, but I'm gonna put it at the bottom of A tier. So overall, the Raider suit is my favorite, followed up with the Knightwatch, then Demon, then Year 1 in S tier, followed by A tier with Talon, Night Ops, Eternal, Beyond, Metal, and Gilded Age. Next is B tier, which would be Titan, Knighthood, then Shinobi. Moving down to the lower tiers, we got New Guard, and then Pirateer in C tier, and lastly Neon Noir in F tier. Way worse than all the other ones. So overall, you can see that the suit designs in this game are actually pretty decent. I like a lot of them, and even these B tier ones are not bad or anything. You can make these ones work as well, just not my favorite. Now, would I have rather they did just comic accurate suits instead of these ones? Maybe. I think that would have been overall better because these suits are a little odd looking, but they are very unique to the game. So I do gotta give the designers credit for coming up with unique designs. Just a lot of them aren't necessarily screaming Nightwing all the time to me, or are missing elements that would make a Nightwing design better in my opinion. But I hope you all enjoyed my video, and let me know what your favorite design from this game is, whether it be Knightwatch or any of these other ones that were on the tier list. I'd love to know like which design is your absolute favorite, the best one. What would you put in the best tier out of all of these designs? Thank you again for watching. I'll have the link for the tier list down in the description, and I hope you all have a great day ahead of you.